All right, and we are live. Hey guys, I'm the Wolf of 1918 here, and I'm here with Doughboy Mike, or otherwise known as Wolf of One Collector on Instagram. And introduce yourself.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Wolf of 1918. I'm really glad to be here.
No worries. Thank you for coming on. I know this has been a long time in the making, as we tried last week, but communication problems kind of caused it to pass
Fall
by.
through.
Just 1 second. Perfect. Sound's working. I did this with Thomas Yip a couple weeks ago, and the sound didn't work for like the first 15 minutes. So like half the conversation at the beginning was just completely unheard. Like they heard me, but they didn't hear Thomas. So, so what exactly got you started in military collecting?
Well, if I'm being honest, it all just kind of stemmed from having that collector gene and being into history. When I was really young, maybe when I was 8 to 10, I started collecting coins, and that kind of evolved into just currency collecting. And when I turned 14, I got a record collector and started collecting vinyl. And that all kind of connected into the history thing, but it wasn't until I turned 16 or 17 that I finally started to get into the whole idea of collecting history in militaria, in the military sense. And I always had the fascination, especially with the First World War, as I know you do as well. And it just kind of stemmed from there. I think it was Christmas of 2016 that I got my first piece, that propaganda poster right there. And yeah, it was it didn't even really like stem from asking for that. I just wanted a World War I propaganda poster, like a copy, but my mom actually found an original at a bookstore, and that just kind of blew up from there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. I have a very similar background. I started with coin collecting back when I was really young. Back when I was around 10 years old, I started coin collecting. Partly because my mom got a huge collection of coins when my great grandpa passed away, because he collected coins when he ran an ice business, and so she was looking him up. And I had originally gotten into it because my dad always looked for silver and coins, and so after that, I got taken to the Big Reno Gun Show a few years later, and I loved it. I looked at all the different military and was just fixated on it. That's where I bought this poster up here. And then the next year I went back and bought my Pickelhaube. So those two are my first editions, and very similar background, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, but, of course.
We've kind of taken different pathways using it for different reasons.
We definitely have, yeah.
You're definitely more collector, keeping it, displaying it, and preserving it. I'm similar with keeping it and preserving it, but I also buy things for use, like the canister here in my Stahlhelm and whatnot.
Yeah, it is very interesting that you use the word preserving, because that's really what jump started it all for me in a really large way. At the very beginning, I just had something in my head that needed to preserve for the sake of remembrance. Because in my mind, I just thought of all of the hundreds of thousands of young men that gave their lives for a cause that they really didn't understand, thinking that it's just passed by. And I'm sure you can relate to the fact that in high school, when learning about history, this war was passed over so easily.
Yeah.
The teachers were like, we're going to do 1 or 2 days on World War I, but then we're going to jump into World War II, so don't worry. I know everyone's excited about World War II. Can't wait. Yeah. And that just really sat with me. I thought, why is this treated as so much less important? Why is this treated as so much less significant, when in reality I would say it is just as significant in how it changed the world? And in the sake of preservation, I never really had the thought of doing any type of a reenactment in that sense. I mean, I would like put one of the helmets on every once in a while, and I completely respect the need and want to do it. But I guess it's just never something that I really considered. Maybe it's just because I don't have the body type for it.
But trust me, I don't either.
And they call me Doughboy Mike for a reason. It's not just because of the helmet.
Yeah, when I first started getting into it when I was younger, when I first bought my Pickelhaube, and I was looking for I bought the Pickelhaube because I liked Pickelhaubes, but at the time I was going to focus on World War II collecting. And it was between a Pickelhaube for $400, which would be this one, or a World War II Stahlhelm for like 500. So I went with the Pickelhaube, and I had $100 left over. So I went over to another booth, and they had this Adrian helmet from the, I think, a Belgian firefighters Adrian helmet, or it was like Belgian Africa, like colonial Adrian helmet that was pretty much in perfect condition. And he had it priced for $100, and I just told him that I didn't have that much, even though I did. I was like a little sneaky 12, 13-year-old. And I guess he was like, okay, I can do 75. And I was like, okie dokie. And then I pull out, the amount of money. And so that was my other item. I gave that to my brother. But yeah, when I was that age, I was like, I'm not going to do reenacting. I'm not going to wear this stuff. Are you kidding me? That would be so disrespectful. And then like years later, half my stuff's authentic that I wear. And it's a weird change of philosophy that's happened. I don't feel like it's disrespectful to wear a helmet like this, which was made in like 1916, has Reichswehr colors on it, had the strap posts removed. It's been through a ton. I don't find it disrespectful wearing it. I feel like it's preserving the memory of it to the same extent as saving it and preserving it as you are, and then putting it on display is also in the same respect doing the same thing.
Yeah, of course. I know like so many people within the hobby have varying opinions on that, like in such a huge regard. I mean, I know some people, completely condemn the idea of wearing anything from any type of war. I know on Base State Militaria, they have a Q&A section, and one of them is like, if you ask me for the size of this item, I'm not going to sell it to you. These are historical pieces meant for preservation.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to fucking go around wearing this thing. Yeah. So,
and I respect that. I do respect that, because there's a lot of idiots out there who take it and they molest it and they ruin it.
Yeah.
Every single time I see a post on a reenactment or bless you,
thank you,
or a reenactment like subreddit or something like that, where they're asking, should I repaint this helmet? I hate that so much. I understand if the helmet's already been touched up by someone else in the past like 50 years. I understand that. But if you're buying a helmet that has a certain condition, unless it is rusted out and like pitted or like has surface rust all over it, do not repaint it.
Yeah.
Do not touch it up. That is so disrespectful. Yeah. Like, go ahead and replace the pins and keep them in a separate box and then put new ones in to put in a new liner. Don't use an original liner. Like, I have standards for myself where if I feel like what I'm going to do is going to damage it, I don't do it. So there's definitely a line I have for myself, and I can respect people who don't want to sell a helmet to someone because they're going to wear it, because some people are just idiots and they ruin things. Mm-hmm. I've seen too many things on eBay and on Facebook groups getting sold that was just completely ruined by someone who didn't know what they were doing.
Okay. It is a very unfortunate process that people put things through, especially with, Pickelhaubes being given new liners and just trying to be touched up, and then even worse, passed off as originals.
People taking an original Pickelhaube in good condition and then just scrapping it to make it so that they can wear it as, like, so that they can say, I have an original Pickelhaube that I wear. That grinds my gears so much and makes me so angry. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I saw someone talking about how they bought there are people who have taken Pickelhaubes which were damaged. They've gotten several parts of Pickelhaubes over the years and they just combined them to create a Pickelhaube that they can wear. Perfect. Do that. You piece together a Frankenstein Pickelhaube. I think George Junger has a Pickelhaube someone bought like back in the 80s when it was in really good condition. And then over the years, he basically butchered it to make it work for reenactment and then gave it to George Junger. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. It's like, okay, he's using it for reenactment, but that's because someone else ruined it in terms of its historical value. So there's a fine line there where you don't want to ruin things, but at the same time, you want to get it in the condition where you can use it. That's why I like this so much. This is like pristine condition, and I can use it.
Oh yeah, and you have the thing on the bottom too.
The Stormtroop mark. Yeah, I love it, and it's perfect. So there's a line there, but I feel like people cross it too much.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially those who wear the original uniforms, like the original tunics and trousers from like U.S. or French or British or God forbid German.
God forbid German after spending $4,000 on a friggin' tunic,
dude,
a Felderock or something.
People who wear the original tunics and trousers, there's got to be a special place in like military hell for for that because you talked about 100-year-old piece of wool cloth that you're going to wear, and it's forgivable for like the younger guys, but the older people, they're supposed to be
Yeah.
the people who know what to do.
Yeah, you buy reproductions, you do what you can to
Hmm.
respect as much as you're trying to preserve.
Exactly. There's a line, and I feel like too many
Yeah,
people cross it.
absolutely.
But yeah, your collection is amazing, and I've been watching it grow over the past year or two that I've been following you, and it's pretty cool to see the growth that you've gained and just the amount of items. I'm pretty jealous of all your Adrian helmets. I've been trying so hard to get a French Adrian helmet from World War One. It's you look on eBay and they're all overpriced. You look on other websites, they don't exist, and then you go onto Facebook and you see one for sale at a good price that's in good condition. You message them, you put a comment down. They never get back to you, and then they just mark it as sold. When there's no other comments, no other likes, and you're like, it's
Yeah,
so hard to get them. It's harder than stall helms. I don't understand how a French helmet is harder to get than a stall helm.
I found that eBay really isn't the place for that. My first date here, let me get the camera on a little bit. My first Adrian on the I might as well just bring you over to it. I don't want to like drop anything.
That wouldn't be good. Not with what you
Yeah.
have set up.
This is my first Adrian. I got it years ago. This was like probably I got it before I got my first style helm. I think I paid maybe like 130, 140 on
Yeah,
eBay, and it has a late war liner. It's not, fantastic, but it's the first helmet that I got, especially with a full liner.
yeah,
No Horizon blue paint or anything, just the standard flaming bomb. And that was the only Adrian I own until actually a few months ago when on Instagram there are a few accounts. I think the one that I bought mine from was Militaria helmet collector or something like that. They all live in Europe. They all live in France, where they find this stuff in like old houses or they dig them up themselves.
yeah,
My other two Adrians, they don't have liners or anything; they're empty. But I've just been trying to maybe get a collection of all the different types of emblems that you can have. This is the Pioneer Sapper and Engineer's helmet emblem, and the third one is just another flaming bomb. But they do have the original Horizon blue paint, which is really nice to be shown of the early warliners.
yeah.
And very recently, I almost bought I'm gonna butcher this word right now. Chassier's helmet, light infantry of the French soldiers that fought in the Alps, like Monte Grappa. And I almost spent about maybe $400 on that because it had an early
Yikes.
war red liner, and they are very hard to find in a original
Yeah,
condition that complete. And my interest really seems to jump so much from U.S. to German to French. In the past few months, it's been between German and French back and forth so much.
yeah.
I have more than enough U.S. stuff. All right, go ahead.
See, what's interesting is I don't really like collecting U.S. stuff. Like I'll have some U.S. items. You can probably tell right up there. I've got an old. Here, let me bring it down. So this is a pretty cool piece of my collection. It's one of the few World War II items I have. This came from a wreck that I went to go see up in the hills near my house. A B-25 crashed in the hills back in the 50s, and this is a piece of the suit heater.
Wow.
So I should make a whole video on it. I've got all the pictures from it. I've got video. I've got all the stuff from it. I just haven't done anything. It'd be a pretty cool video to make. But yeah, this is part of it. Yeah, it's World War II.
Yeah, come on.
Imagination. You kidding me? But yeah, this is one of my few U.S. items. The other one would be the "Help Stop This" propaganda poster, which I've only seen one other example sell for, and it sold for like I've seen three other examples sell of that poster, and one of them sold for like 120, one of them sold for like 75, and then another one of them sold at an auction house for 600 something. I bought the poster for $10. So
yeah, posters are a really tricky business. I stopped buying posters a while ago. I have all my US ones over here, and the last one I bought, which is probably one of the fucking I'm sorry that I keep saying bad words. Well, probably one of the jewels of my collection is the French Only Pasa Pa poster.
Yeah.
It's huge. The frame for it is huge. I was so lucky to find a frame for it because custom framing would have cost at least like $300 for it. But
Really cool.
yeah, it's such a iconic poster from the war, and other than that, I only have the U.S. stuff and the
So
panoramics and
where
everything.
where do you get your posters from?
For the most part, eBay. I
Really?
found that you just really have to be careful with it. Obviously,
Yeah.
a few months back, there was this one guy that had never sold anything World War I before. I believe he sold wristwatches, but he found a cache somewhere of like maybe 10 or 20 French propaganda posters from World War One. Some French, some Serbian actually. And he
Wow.
started selling them like one by one on bid. And like not all at once, just one by one. And the way he did it is he would just have them all stacked on top of each other, and he would go one by one, just take one out and sell the next one, take one out, sell the next one. And I noticed something at the very bottom where all the other posters were stacked up. I noticed the corner of that poster, and I immediately recognized what that poster was. It is so iconic. I messaged him. I'm like, is that what I think it is? Is that what I think it? I know what that is. Confirm that that is what I know that is. And he did. And when it went up for bid, I submitted an offer, and it was immediately accepted. So I was able to snag that.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. I want to get more propaganda posters. Granted, I've got enough stuff on my walls as is. I've got my flag. I've got my Sabaton flags. I've got my Titanic things, and it's whatever. But I do want to get more posters. They're pretty cool. One thing I kick myself for is when I went to the Big Reno Gun Show, when I bought the Pickelhaube, there was a booth selling a World War One era naval German Imperial flag that was huge. It was huge, dude. It would. I don't know if it would fit on this back wall of mine. It might barely fit if I moved my desk and my bookshelf. The thing they were selling for $500. I had $500 on me. They said that it was original. It was original. There was no way it was faked. It was fully original. $500. They were trying to get rid of it because they didn't know where to put it. The thing was taken from a German naval base after World War One from a colony in the Pacific by the British. The dude who grabbed it and was able to take it home then came over to the States, and it was passed down through the family. And they were at the Big Reno Gun Show trying to sell it. I decided to get the Pickelhaube and an Adrian helmet from Belgium.
Imperial flags are probably some of the most expensive items out there.
Yeah. So I've looked for something like that, and I'm kicking myself. I'm kicking my 12-year-old self, just like, how dare you? How dare you be stupid? How dare you be young and unintelligent?
I know where one of those is up for sale right now on collectorsguild.com. They have a Kriegsmarine naval flag that a group actually took from a sunken submarine.
Really?
And it is for sale for about a little over $5,000.
Jesus Christ! That's
and like they have the picture of them on their boat after like getting it. Like it's pretty big, and it's got the original mark.
Legit, unless they found the flag and then went out to the ocean and took
took the picture, of course, and that's very good. Very likely.
It's definitely rule of thumb: never buy the story, buy the item, and that's why I like this canister. When I bought it, the listing was just canister and gas mask. That was all the information. There was no hype. It was just gas mask and canister. I buy it. I open it up. Get just hit with just the smell of chlorine gas. Eyes are watering. I'm like coughing. I'm like, what is this? My mom from across the room is like, close that. What is it? What is that? And I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. I learned later the white bar on the bottom, which I was annoyed with. I'm like, some idiot painted a white bar on the bottom. I realized that's a Stormtrooper marking. I bought it. It was just listed as a gas mask and canister with good paint. I won the bid for $450, which is as much as most gas masks go for. So there was no story to it, which is why a lot of the stuff about this is legit with the Stormtrooper and the paint, because there was no hype about it. It was just this dude saying, I got this. I found it. I don't know what it is. So when you're buying something and you're able to put a story together, that's when it's pretty cool. But when someone's selling you something, you're like, and then my papa, he went to the wolf
Yeah.
lair and got this flag from
The
there.
wolf.
When that happens, you gotta go,
Yeah, you got to think a little
this
deeper
isn't the
about
modern
that.
material. But Nazi space technology, my good boy, my dear boy. And then that's when it's like, yes, you're just a boomer who doesn't understand.
Exactly. Yeah, trying to scam young
Yeah,
children at
yeah,
auctions and gun shows. I mean,
yeah,
that happens a lot and far too often. But
yeah.
I actually had a situation like that very recently with a. Let me get up and grab it. Just don't look at my fat juicy ass while I'm walking away.
I'll attempt not to. It's hard. I must avert my eyes.
With this this shovel,
Yeah.
I saw this shovel on eBay for $65, and I instantly recognized it from two places. One of them was from a reference book that I own, Stormtroopin', World War One German Stormtroopers, by Ricardo Ruscio Cardona. And second, from my friend Stormtroopin 1918's Instagram page, when he was. Yep, that's the book!
You said it, and I was like, I think I have
Yeah. And from my friend Stormtrooper 1918's Instagram page, he actually owned one of these, and it is a Pioneer Sapper's shovel from Imperial Germany from the early World War One, before they
That's
were
pretty cool.
actually stormtrooping. And he sold his for $500, and I got this for $65 on eBay. The guy was selling it as the funny part. This is hilarious. He was an Imperial German reenactor who was getting out of the hobby. He didn't know what this was. He bought this at an antique store as just shovel, and he was like, "I guess I'll use this for my Imperial German reenactor stuff." And he was listing it as like interwar, in between World War One, World War Two shovel. It has the same bolt markings as my Imperial German shovel, but I've never seen something like this before. So $65, and it's yours. And it was mine. It's mine.
And that's so awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very, very, very ironic for him, but glad that I was able to snag a piece like this. I immediately messaged him, and I was like, "I know this is what I think it is, right? This is it. This is it, right?" And he's like, "I need you to buy that right fucking now."
Yeah, there are some things about the collecting community where it's like, do you know how much this is worth? Like, are you? And then there's other people where you're just like, dude, what? Why are you trying to sell that for that much money, dude?
Yeah.
I was at an antique store, and there's of course the people who they just don't know what they're selling is fake. There's an antique store near my house where there's a person who runs a booth there who's a super nice guy. I've had several conversations with him. I've probably sat there talking to him for hours at a time. He's extremely nice. He's very knowledgeable about very specific things in the Militaria community. He's not very knowledgeable about World War One items. So when he's selling a World War One item, I literally have to be very careful. And he's a nice dude. I don't think he's selling things knowingly when they're fake.
Yeah.
I know that he has some fake items because there's a fake Iron Cross First Class in his booth that's from World War One. But the World War One fakes of those ones are very similar to the authentic World War Two ones. So because he's a World War II military collector and expert, he probably sees them and so like, it's the same.
Yeah.
Because he's an older gentleman and whatever. But he did have a Pickelhaube cover, one of the 1915 versions, kind of made of like a silk cloth stamp.
Yeah.
It was stamped. It's like a gray color. I just saw it laying in one of the cases, and I just asked him, like, excuse me, is that a Pickelhaube cover? And he looks at me and he's like, that's been sitting there for as long as I've had this booth, and you are the first person to know what that is. And I'm just like, I just recognized it. And he's like, what's the price on it? I'm just like, it says, I forget what the price was. I think he was selling it for $120. And he's like, because you know what it is, and because you are very knowledgeable, I will sell this to you for $75. I'm like, the thing's in mint condition. I don't think there's no way it's fake because I've never seen a fake like that because all the repros are all the tan color. They're not the gray.
Does it have the hooks?
Yeah, it's got the hooks. All the hooks are there. It looks like it was never used. So it just seems like it sat in a supply depot for the whole war. It's got the stamp on it that says 1915. All the stamps look accurate to what I've seen.
Yeah.
If it's a fake, it's a fake, and that sucks. But I don't think it is. I've never seen a fake like that. All the fakes I've seen, all the repros are all the tan colored like material. I've never seen. I haven't even seen an authentic one with the gray, which is interesting. But yeah, that was definitely one of the coolest finds. And then he had this for sale too, which is the Telegrapher's buckle.
Yeah, the Telegraph. Yeah,
But,
and those are going for like $400 or $500 now. Those buckles.
Yeah, I asked him about it, and he said that he's because if you're selling at an antique booth in California, you're not going to sell anything World War One.
Yeah,
it's hard enough to sell World War II Germany stuff because you'll have people calling you a Nazi and telling you to shut your doors because you're selling swastika stuff.
That's Thomas.
In fact, he had to scale down his booth because he had people come into the store, see his booth, yell at him, and then report the store to the newspaper. The store made headlines because his booth had Nazi stuff in it, and then they politely asked him to please just remove all the Nazi insignia items. So he had to scale back his booth, and now he's hurting because that was the big, because like all the little pins, all the little stuff like that, the cheap $20 items was how he made his money. It's the easiest impulse item. And I talked to him about it, and like we were both talking about like, yeah, that's why I come in here. I don't come in here because I'm looking for a specific item. I come in here because I want to spend money on something.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm looking for something to buy. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Something. And I just said like it just sucks because now it feels like nothing's there. And that's the problem with selling Nazi stuff, and it's whatever. That's I guess part of the ugly side of militaria collecting is the difficulty of showcasing the more controversial stuff.
Yeah, that's a big issue here in New York too. I mean, especially with gun shows, militaria shows, and that type of stuff.
Yeah,
they display the Nazi flags and everything. I mean, it's fine. Same with Confederate flags. The difference is pretty much almost everyone here knows what they're talking about. The last major gun show that I went to is where I got that Hebel flare pistol.
nice.
It was in a bag, broken. Like it was like that and a little plastic baggie of spare parts. They wanted 150 for it. I got it for 120.
Nice.
Took it home. 15 minutes, it was fixed. And now it's there. So that was probably the best luck that I've ever had at a gun show.
Yeah, gun shows can be so hit or miss. My brother bought a fake Austrian medal from a booth. Metal doesn't even exist. Like there's no record of it. It's just a fake.
What?
Yeah.
Not even trying to model it up.
Spent $20 on a fake medal. Yeah, it was so weird. Like it's loosely based off one metal, but it also has some design features from a different metal. And there's no way that it was a real thing. Some 1930s military medal from Austria, just complete fake.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know why it exists, but it does. Yeah, it was really interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of scummy people out there. And my brother was younger than me when he got it. Like he's still younger than me. He was younger than like it was the same time. It was the same show that I bought my Pickelhaube. So he was like 10 years old.
Wow.
And so some person at a booth sold a 10-year-old a fake medal. There are some serious scumbags out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that you got to be careful of. You really got to go into it with knowledge about stuff. And if you have a gut feeling like this doesn't feel right, then wait. Take some pictures, post it somewhere, ask questions,
Yep.
and you'll get an answer that probably says, yeah, this is fake.
Yeah, I probably should have. A few times I should have made that decision.
Yeah. I'm
burned a few times.
I'm too cheap to buy a ton of stuff and then risk getting fakes. I think the only thing I've bought that was fake, granted I haven't really bought much. Trying to think, it might have been. I know I bought some mislabeled things that were labeled as one thing and then turned out to be another thing. Most of my fake items I've given away. I'm just trying to remember. I know I bought a couple fake things. I'm just trying to remember what. It's not coming to mind. But yeah, like I've got a couple of Russian Mosin pouches that were sold as World War II pouches, and then I come to find out that they're post-war. So, stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna try and pass fake shit off just to make a quick buck. I mean, and then half the time, most people just don't know what they're talking about. I went
Yeah.
to one gun show the gun show that I got my man liquor at, my Stram man liquor, and the guy didn't really know much about him, but he tried to sell it to me with 2 boxes of Nazi era 8x56 ammo, and I noticed that it did not have an S marking on the receiver, which meant that it was not chambered in 8x56. It was chambered in the original 8x50.
That's really rare.
Yeah,
That's a really rare Mannlicher.
and the thing is, those usually go for cheaper, only for the fact that the ammo isn't made anymore. The ammo hasn't been made
Yeah.
since I think 1938, and I bought it, and I am still every once in a while I scour the internet often just looking for the ammo, and I have been able to
So
find a bit of it.
I'm pretty sure you can buy the lead slugs and then you can buy the casings and you just have to reload it yourself.
Yeah, and
That's
I
how
don't
you
know
have
how
to
to
go
do
about it.
that, especially not in
It's
New
a pricey
York.
process. You really have to try hard. The 8x56, the ammo that most commonly is used, the
Yeah,
ammo that is made nowadays actually isn't good for the gun. It jams. It doesn't shoot right. It's inaccurate. It's not as good. It's corrosive on the barrel. You have to buy the Nazi era ammunition. I bought my brother some ammunition that was in sealed Nazi era ammo boxes. Turned out
hmm
it was Bulgarian.
Bulgarian,
So,
really.
so during the war, Bulgaria made the ammunition, shipped it to Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany packaged it, and then they got put in the boxes. And then they ended up in California, sold to me, which I gave to my brother for his M95,
Hmm,
which they turned out to be corrosive ammunition that would not fire. He would pull the
that
trigger, smoke
sucks.
would come out of the receiver. 2 seconds later, it would actually fire, and was really scary for
So
him.
it's all just hang fire then?
He would rack it, pull the trigger, smoke would come out of the receiver, and then it would fire after 2 seconds.
Yeah, hang
And
fire.
and it's because it's old ammunition mixed with it being Bulgarian, and Bulgarian ammunition was trash. If you want to buy like actual Nazi ammunition for the M95, it's over $1 a round. It's expensive
Exactly.
to shoot
Yeah.
that stuff.
On
But the
on
guns are awesome. I love the
yeah.
M95. It's not as fun. It's not as fun as your traditional, bolt action, but it's still fun. You know.
Straight pulling is a lot of fun. I mean, especially shooting the 8x50, hell of a fucking kick. Probably the biggest kick I've ever had shooting a gun. Um but when like the ammo the 8x50 on Gunbroker, there are like 50 different guys selling them per round, like $15 a round. But every once in a while, a guy will have a cache of like 50, 60 rounds for bid, and I'll just end up paying like $100 for 60 rounds or something like that. But I think I have something like over 150 rounds of it. Some of it is Austrian, some of it is German, and I have a lot of it that's Czechoslovakian, and it's labeled as what is it 882 can't even see 882 by 50, but it's still it's still that
Yeah.
round, and it's anti-corrosive and everything. It's it works well. It works just fine. Shooting the gun is a hell of a lot of fun, but just buying
Yeah.
the ammo for it is a pain in the
So
ass.
what's really cool is that with it being chambered in 8x50, you actually have the original way it's supposed to pull back and go forward. My brother, because has been rechambered. The benefit is that the ammo is more prevalent, more available. The
Yeah,
negative side is that the rechambered ones, pulling it back was stiffer and pushing it forward was stiffer. Whereas the original
exactly. Yeah,
8x50, you could just rack it pretty quickly.
yeah,
Um, so that'd be pretty cool. It's probably super fun to mess with. My brother's is a little bit stiffer than
yeah. You got to be really. I mean, you got to be harsh with that thing sometimes. But with the 8x50, it's like a fucking dream. The kickback is hell, but I love shooting that thing.
Yeah, one of the guns that I really want to. I will never be able to afford it, but it'd be super cool to at least see is the massive Maxim 37 millimeter pom pom that the British
Oh
made.
my god, dude, those things are fucking insane.
So
I don't even think they had one at the World War One museum when I went.
something interesting. So a while ago, I bought a pretty large shell. You can probably see in the background of the video, right next to my gas mask. I didn't know what it was for. I looked up the caliber and everything, and over, I bought it several years ago. It's one of the few items that I bought after the Pickelhaube, before the Stahlhelm in my reenacting days. I just thought it was cool to have a massive shell
Yeah.
next to things that's pretty big compared to tiny bullet shells. Well, I was watching a Forgotten Weapons video on the pom pom, and I'm like, he had like one of the shells that would go into the gun, and I'm just like, wait a second,
That's fucking amazing.
it's a pom pom shell,
Wait a minute.
made in Britain, 1916, for the pom pom.
Give me a sec. Hold that up again. It's probably not, but okay, it's not the same. I don't think. This is pretty sure this is French. It's got the flaming bomb, so that's 3785.
So the French had a 37 millimeter field cannon that was used for like trench assaults, which is what I thought this was for, but like a British produced version of it. And then I saw the Forgotten Weapons video, and the shell he showed looked exactly like this. It was especially interesting because that is just solid lead. That's nothing more than just solid lead. But it's not. It can be armor piercing because the tip's doesn't come to enough point. And that's when I was like, oh, it's for the pom pom. Which I don't care about value. I more care about what it was for.
Exactly.
I'm not going to sell this stuff at all. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I love collecting for those reasons, because you'll go find something, you'll buy it, and you'll be like, this was cool, and you'll learn later, like, wait, no, there's more to it.
Yeah.
Which is always super cool to find. Like with my Stahlhelm, there's like white residue around the horns. I don't know I never knew what it was from, and I'm like annoyed with it because the helmet's perfect except for a little bit of the white around it. And I'm like, what is with this? And so I was complaining about it with Thomas. Thomas, he was out by a camp out with my group, and I was like talking about it, just venting about it with him and Schützen 1916. And Schützen's like, well, actually, I have a book about about Reichswehr equipment, and no, the white around the horns, that was used by the Reichswehr. And I was like, so apparently my helmet was used by the Germans in World War One. It has a manufacturing error because it's an earlier production, made in 1916. It has camouflage residue on it. After the war, the paint was stripped, repainted in Reichswehr colors. The posts for the strap were removed with a 1918 liner put in, and then used by the Reichswehr. Might have been used during the Nazi regime as a Volkssturm helmet, and then brought over to the States by some GI.
Jesus. It's a hell of a long history for something like that.
It's been through a lot, according to everything that I've heard about the markings on it and why it's the way it is. It's marked 1916. It's got a manufacturing error on it, which makes sense for a 1916 Stahlhelm, first batch. There's clear outlines where the posts used to be, so they were removed, which means it's not a 1918 produced helmet at all. There's no way. And then there's white around the horns, which are probably from paint, which would mean Reichswehr. So I like reenacting for that, the little forensics that you can put into it. This has this and this and this, which means holy crap. Like you can put those together and then make these huge wild assumptions that are probably not true, but it's cool to piece the story together.
Exactly, yeah. Just those little things that you can try and fucking piece together about the thing are insane. That's what I was trying to do with that Feldmutz yesterday.
Yeah. And then the whole crazy detectives coming in with the whole, well, actually that unit only got their Feldmutzes from this supply depot, and that's marked with that supply depot, which means that it's fake.
My working theory right now is that it was resized because it has an original marking, like a much older marking in the top. You can barely fucking see it, but it's like at the very top you can see that black line at the top. Like that line actually crosses out the number 52, and then the number 54 is put below it. So I think that it was used by the Landwehr, and then it was reissued during World War I after it was resized by this depot.
So it was probably something where it was like just, it's real, but the reason why everyone thinks it's fake is because it was resized at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are just too many markings and too many weird coincidences on that helmet for it to have been faked. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where when you have something like that, it comes down to where it's like, why would someone put this much effort into faking something?
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because like there's some fake, like being in reenacting and having a lot of reproduction items, I've grown used to certain things on reproductions versus the fakes. I mean, versus the real stuff. So
Yeah.
where I've been able to tell, like, okay, yeah, that's fake, or yeah, that's real. And it's like there's some things that are fake. That there's a lot of effort put into it, but then you have to think, like, are they really making money on that?
Yeah,
But
that's the
most
thing. I
most
mean,
fakes are quickly and cheaply done so that they can make a quick buck off of someone who has no idea what they're looking at and they think they're
yeah,
getting a really killer deal. That's all it is.
yeah. That's
Uh,
all it ever comes down to.
yeah, but yeah, definitely, it's really cool coming up with those stories like that. Just with different things like the uh, the gas mask and canister I have. There's no markings on the gas mask. There's no markings on the canister. All the paint's in good condition. I mean, it's even got the little cover for replacement lenses in the position it should be in, which
Yeah.
wasn't even in the pictures when I bought it. Like the dude didn't even say he had it. I just opened it up and I'm like, holy crap, this is here. So a little bit of like a little toy in the bag.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I've like slowly pieced together why it doesn't have markings, why it smells like chlorine gas. So no markings and smells like chlorine gas, white bar. Stormtroops did not put markings on their stuff. They didn't want to trace it back to them. They didn't want anyone to find out which regiments were where because then the Allies would beef up positions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Hence the white bar, hence it smelling like chlorine gas, hence no markings. That's my whole assumption, just putting it all together and whatnot. And again, the whole, fictitious story, trying to come up with a reason why it is the way it is. But yeah, it is funny though, like us doing that, but like we probably wouldn't, if we were selling it, try to say those stories to try to convince someone you need to buy this because the story.
Yeah, and I mean, for a lot of it, I mean, the story's pieced together well enough that it could very well be true, but it is obviously in the eye of the beholder with that.
Exactly. Yeah, it is pretty humorous though, like trying to find something to buy and then you see these different people selling stuff for like abhorrent prices and you just try to say, dude, this is way overpriced, and they just defend themselves so over the top.
Oh yeah, they fucking believe themselves to their last breath that they're correct about whatever the hell they're trying to pass off as real.
Yeah, there was a dude not too long ago. He was selling a Stahlhelm in worse condition than this one. It was like super rusted over, a lot of surface rust. The liner looked to be a World War II liner, from what I could tell. The gas mask that it was going with was was in worse condition than mine. It looks super dried. No picture of the condition of straps, and the picture he took had the gas mask on a mannequin head with the helmet on it, which is horrible. You should never store your gas masks like that for prolonged amounts of times. And when you're selling a gas mask, you don't want to sell it like that to show I'm taking care of it. He had no pictures of the gas mask straps and the condition of the connections, nothing like that. So and the gas mask filter was super rusted. All the metal on the gas mask was rusted. The dude was selling it for $1,900. $1,900.
I know what I have. Now, I know what I have.
Granted, they were Australian dollars, but that translates to 1,200 USD.
Yeah, that is bullshit.
1,200 USD. I bought this helmet. Now, granted, from a friend, so I don't really count the price too much. I bought this helmet for $250. Pretty decent deal. This helmet would probably sell for about $400 if I tried to. Just $400. It's not rusted. It's got residue of camo, and it's got Reichswehr markings. I'd probably be able to get $400 for it. So there we go. Schützen 1916 won a bid for a rusted helmet that was originally in better condition than the helmet the one dude was selling. That Schützen repaired and restored. He bought it, won a bid for it for like $220, and it was in better condition than this one this dude was selling. And then so the helmet. Let's just set the price. Best case scenario, because it's got a liner in it, even though it's World War II, $350. Gas mask. I bought my gas mask and canister for $450. I got lucky, but $450 for both. So let's put gas mask at $450 to be fair. $450 plus $350, you're looking at $800. That's $400 less than his asking price.
For that shit,
And
that's much worse
we're
condition.
being generous with
Yeah.
these estimates. So seeing people do that, and then seeing him get called out, try to be defensive, and then marking it as sold after being called out, it's one of those things where you have to wonder. I hope to God no one bought it.
Yeah.
Two, these people get super, super defensive about everything. And if you checked his other posts about him selling, you would see this really crappily repainted camo Stahlhelm in the background. And you just have to wonder, did he buy that thinking it was real camouflage? Or did he repaint it and do a really crappy job repainting it? You know, there's people in the reenactment community that are just absolute cancer. And reenactment community and military community. And it's really unfortunate that that those people exist and that they're out there scamming individuals to buy something that just isn't worth that much. You know?
Yeah. It's just it's a bunch of shit on eBay. I think the worst purveyors of that are the Latvians. In that group that I was telling you about, Imperial German helmet collectors, they like wish death on these Latvians on eBay that hastily repaint Stahlhelms to make them look like camo, and they're so distinct. Like the camo is so distinct that it looks spray painted.
Yeah.
They sell for over $1,000 each time, and they're making so much money off of this bullshit. And I love being able to sit back and watch, like they literally just post the eBay listing and like let's see where this goes. And it's just it's stupid how high these things go.
It really, that's crazy that they're getting a thought. I guess the people that are buying it, their whole thought process is, well, it's from Latvia. It has to be real. It's from where the Germans were.
Yeah, it's a fucking joke.
That's so stupid. I bought a couple things from Eastern European sellers, but nothing like super big. I bought a Austrian dog tag case. And the reason why I bought it is because my brother's got the Austrian impression, and it had the unit name scratched into the front and the name of the person, Joseph, the Hungarian spelling. I bought it because two things. One, my brother's name is Joseph. He's got an Austrian impression. Pretty cool to have an Austrian dog tag with your name on it. that I just I gotta buy this.
Yeah.
The other thing was the dude was selling it for $30. An original Austrian dog tag for $30. I've seen them on eBay for $100 each.
At
condition.
Least. Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta buy this. Holy crap! So I picked it up and it was great. I've had other things where they never shipped it. And I was just like, what the heck? But yeah, the dude who sold me the Austrian dog tag, he also threw this in as a little gift, a little regimental marking, Austrian regimental marking button that's all broken and relic.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm very careful with Eastern European sellers and all that stuff, because if you have a problem, how are you going to get in contact with them to get a refund?
Exactly. Yeah, they don't
they're on the other side of the world. You can't go to their house and what are you going to call
shit out of him? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
You're going to call Putin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Granted, the times I've sold to Eastern European sellers and the times I've bought from them, nothing bad's happened. I sold my old gas mask without a filter that had a canister with it, with an original strap. I sold that to some rando in Russia. I don't know if he ever got it. I got my money. I never got a complaint. I didn't get a good review. Yeah. So I assume he got it. But no problem selling to him, no problems buying from him. But there have been some fakes from Latvia I've seen, and from just Eastern Europe in general, just because people are trying to make a living any way they can by scamming people from the West who are less intelligent. But it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I got really lucky with my camo helmet. I mean, I got it somewhat recently, and it's very faded, and it unfortunately does have a lot of flaws here. Hang on, let me put this over here so I can... Nutsack. All right, that was a bad idea. Okay.
Careful there.
Yeah, but yeah, the camo on this thing is somewhat in pretty good spots, but they're like what really made it so that this helmet was so easy to authenticate was how the paint is so consistent with the rust, where you can tell that the paint was put on there and the rust was proficient enough with it. And I mean, it's obviously no liner or anything, but I think I got this for $360, and that's a pretty good price for
That's really
like
good.
an authenticated. Yeah.
Let me see if I can, because the rust on this one, because again, there's Reichswehr markings on it, like very slight. So the Reichswehr stripped the camo off because they didn't like camo helmets. But
Yeah.
you might be able to see the small pattern brush strokes right there from the old camo. I don't know if that's very visible.
I can tell a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely
It's
got that.
very very faded. Like
Yeah.
there's some tan right there.
Yeah, I can see the diversion.
It's
Yeah,
so
I can
hard.
see.
Like there's some difference in colors, and and as I wear this, the current coat that's on the top, which is very thin right now, of the Reichswehr green, is slowly coming off and revealing more of the camouflage color. But again,
Yeah.
the camouflage color was also stripped, so some parts are bare metal, some parts are colored, and it's really really interesting.
Yeah.
But again, like it just goes to show that some of like there's camo helmets are more authentic than we give them credit for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, everyone goes by the directive. Everyone goes by the whole idea that only after this date were camo helmets ever,
Dude,
purported.
it's so stupid. There's a company that does helmet restorations, and I forget what they are. I kind of don't really like the whole idea of their business model of restoring helmets. I don't like that because
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
unless they're rusted, like this one, and not painted, um, and you need to restore it to keep it from falling apart further. Don't do that. But regardless, they have
Yeah.
a post about camo helmets and about like how there's a myth in the reenactment community that camo helmets are a myth. The myth of the camo helmet, um, and how people just assume that camo helmets were either A, fabricated entirely by people like Walt Disney who
Yeah.
try to make a living off of it,
Yeah.
or B, only existed for like 3 months of the war. And there's pictures of POWs taken by the British after the Somme, and if you zoom in on their helmets, you can make out a slight
Yeah.
camo pattern that looks like the typical camo. And this is in 1916 when camo helmets were first issued.
Exactly.
Soldiers were realizing that, like, I think what Storm of Steel, I think the author of Storm of Steel mentions in the book the problem of the helmets reflecting off the light
Yeah.
and how they had to, like, dull it. These soldiers were aware of the problems and were already taking those precautions. There's plenty of evidence in writing to show that they were doing things to the helmets to make them less visible.
Yeah,
And
of course. Even with those cloth covers too. There
exactly.
are so many different
What's funny is that the cloth covers are just as
fabricated.
like there's very few images of them in use.
Yeah.
There's just as few images of the cloth covers in use as there are of the camo helmets in use, and yet people use the cloth covers all the time. And I'm just like, how is this like?
A lot of people think that the Stahlhelm cloth covers, like in that Facebook group, there's not really a lot of validity to them at all for the most part. They weren't used very much after 1915. And even then, like in 1915, it was just only in winter. So you really don't have many, if any, photos of anything like that. And it's the same with, excuse me. It's the same with the camouflage itself. A lot of people go by the fact that the directive wasn't issued until July of 1918. So that's
Yeah.
obviously when the majority of camo helmets were. Like I have no doubt that my camo helmet wasn't painted until after that directive because the colors line up perfectly with the directive colors, what would be issued to regiments. But there are definitely going to be examples of altercations taken to helmets to change them well before that.
Yeah. There's like with the camo helmet that I have where the camo's pretty visible. This was probably painted while the dude was on the Eastern Front after the directive or whatnot. And then Freikorps took it probably.
Yeah.
I'd have to guess. Again, that's putting 2 and 2 together to make 5. But yeah, the whole thing where people just try to screech about anytime they see a camo helmet, it's fake, it's been fake, is just so annoying.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much evidence to show that they were actually used. And, like, obviously, like, why would the French people try to sell camouflage helmets to the Americans going home that they painted if there wasn't a reason for it? Like if I'm a GI, I don't want a camo painted helmet when I've never seen a German wearing a camo helmet. The reason why I want that camo painted helmet is because I've seen Germans wearing camo helmets, and I want.
We have that photographic evidence, and
Yeah,
there's so little of it. But I mean, there's even evidence that Germans painted their MG08s and their ammo canisters too.
yeah,
Like camouflage was such a big part of that culture in the
yeah,
late war.
yeah. The one that I have, the demilled MG08 I have, the sides of it aren't blackened like they would have been for the early war stuff. They're actually painted a greenish color, which is
Really?
interesting. Yeah, which I'm guessing because it was supposedly, the story goes from the guy that I bought it from what he heard from the guy he bought it from, who was the great grandson of the person who bought it overseas, is the MG was captured during the American advance on Verdun in that region. And that it was in that area, which might make sense that it has sort of a greenish look to it, trying to blend it in with foliage.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. It might have been painted post war when it got brought home, but I don't know. The water jacket looks like it was kept blackened, but the receiver is green,
That's
which
cool.
is weird. So it's definitely interesting to just talk and like see all these people like screeching about different things where it's like, no, this is fake. There's no evidence of it, and then it's like, but there is.
Yeah, there's just not. Yeah, people don't want to accept that.
Yeah. And
people think there's so little evidence that
there's so much cool overlap between the military community and the reenactment community with that, because the militaria community will say camo helmets don't exist. So if you think you have an authentic camo helmet, it's not real.
Yeah.
At least portions of that community will, not everybody, of course. Whereas when the overlap is with the reenactment community, if you have a camouflage helmet as a German soldier in 1917 or a German soldier before the directive was sent, people get all mad because that's inaccurate.
Yeah.
They think well, I'll say, okay, cool. That's the exception. They're reenacting the exception, which we shouldn't do. It's still accurate. There's evidence to show that those helmets existed. But
they just don't want to accept that. I mean, it's the same with that. I posted on my account a while ago an actual picture of a German medic with the Red Cross, the white and red cross on his helmet. And those are some of the easily most fabricated types of camouflage on those helmets, because people think those are so easy to make, they don't exist. But we have actual evidence that they were used at least by one soldier. So, I mean, there's at least one real example out there.
Yeah. I think the good rule of thumb is like when you buy it, don't buy it because you think, like, buy it because the helmet's original and the paint might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were too many fakes made in 1919 of camo helmets.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to know if the helmet you have is real or not in terms of its camouflage.
Yeah.
Because of all the fakes made. Because it was made right after the war, so they're going to age just like the helmet's aged.
Yeah.
So it's just a very interesting subject matter and like thing that people are going to argue about till the end of time. I think you posted something about how there was back in like the late 90s, early aughts, the belief was that trench mags were never used during World War I. And you've got that relic trench mag.
Yeah. Yeah, I posted about that where people really did just believe that they were never used. And in the Stormtrooper book, there are photos of them being used in the field. And it's so interesting that how the use of information and technology has given us the opportunity to see this for real, and not just because one person has a picture and you can't upload pictures to the internet yet or some shit. Like it's so much easier now to let that information flow.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting to see all the new information that's been able to come out thanks to the internet and our ability to, like originally, if you wanted to, buy an authentic item, you just had to take the person you were buying it from their word for it, or spend a bunch of money on books.
Yeah.
So that's where I think the older generation, why their whole assumption that everything they buy is authentic comes from, because that's how they were raised. You believe the person you're buying it from, and that's where I think that comes from.
Yeah, for sure.
But nowadays we have so much awesome information, websites dedicated to teach you how to tell an authentic, item from a fake, that it's super awesome to be able to see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's insane that you're able to get that much information flowing, and people aren't going to be able to scam kids that are trying to get into the hobbies often.
Yeah, we're able to know that the lobster armor was used more often than people originally thought.
Yeah.
the whole thing with the what was it? There was some American experimental thing that was used temporarily, and a couple other things. There've been like quite a few things
A
that have,
helmet or what?
I forget what it is, but there's been like a couple things with the Entente that people didn't really think was actually used, but then that's come out. And
Peterson device?
I don't know. I just remember seeing like a whole thread about like all the different things that we used to think weren't used, but now are used. Like now we know were used, and
Yeah. I
all
mean,
that.
in very few numbers, but yeah, it is
Yeah,
crazy
exactly,
to see that type of experimental mentality, thinking that if it's experimental, it was never used in the
exactly.
field. Because so much of it did come at the end of the war. You know, like the Ford Model 8 helmet that sells for thousands of dollars. You know that it was never used in the war because they got shipped right after the war ended. But they are really cool conversation pieces. They are still from the era. They just were never field tested
Yeah,
enough.
the Thompson. Um,
Yeah, the Annihilator.
yeah, I love how the Americans named the gun the Annihilator. It's like holy crap, you guys.
Yeah, honestly, like I mean, you guys are already fucking these guys up enough. Like,
they
come
just they
on.
knew what it was going to be, and I believe that was made without influence from the MP18 too,
Yeah,
which is really interesting. Most submachine guns had influence from the MP18, but then this dude in the United States, he's like, nah, this is mine.
yeah. I mean, the MP18 came out so late too. Sorry, I have
Yeah.
PTSD because of what just happened with that stock. Did I
Uh,
tell you about that?
yeah, I saw the post. I saw the post.
Good for him. Good,
Yeah.
good, good for him. Good for him. That's good for him.
Hey, there. I so a few years ago. This is another. This so what happened the other day brought back horrible memories from several years ago. I was looking to get a airsoft MP18. I wanted to make one, so I was trying to figure out where I can get a reproduction MP18 stock. It's a repro,
Yeah.
and I went to this website, and they were selling an authentic MP18 stock for a few $100s. And I was like, I don't want an original. I want a reproduction. This was like back in 2017. So those memories of me like looking at these different military items that were selling for a few hundred dollars that are now selling for several thousand. I'm just like, man, I was such a dumbass.
Yeah, we all have those moments.
But yeah, like the MP18. What's interesting about that is that it started development in 1916, and they I think it was a little earlier than that. They had like their first model built in 1917, early 1917, and they actually had the production delayed because the German army was like, no, 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 we don't want the box mag. We want it to work with the snail mags,
Yeah, because we don't have to
and
we don't
that
have to
delayed the
make
production
orange.
of it for like a year.
Yeah.
They started production like late 1917, and didn't get them produced enough numbers to send to the troops till like mid 1918,
Yeah,
and
mid to late. I think it was maybe like
yeah,
July or August they got sent out.
yeah, and then they weren't really used. They were just sort of there, and there's not a lot of documentation on soldiers encountering the MP18 or using the MP18, so we
Yeah.
don't know what it felt like for the soldiers on the receiving end or the giving end. Even now, with all of our technology and our ability to spread information so fast, we still don't know what it was like in combat.
Yeah, I mean, we can, make somewhat of an idea. I know CN Arsenal has a great video. Matthias and May, actually got their hands on one and were able to make like an hour and a half video on it. And it is very interesting to see how that could have been interpreted.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting piece. My dream is to be able to buy an MP18, to have enough money to buy one that
Yeah,
works, that's in operating condition, and get my class 3 and
I was about to say in your state.
here. Are you kidding me? I'm getting out of the state.
Yeah,
I'm getting out of here before they decide to put a wall up around the border and close everything.
yeah.
Say you're now in California forever. Before
Yeah.
before Trump extends the wall, just blocks off the west coast and is like, okay, bye bye, go sink in the
Yeah,
ocean
yeah, honestly, there's a lot that's going to be changing soon enough, but
Yeah,
it just has to stay constant being able to do this. I'm actually I'm actually in the middle of getting all my pistol permit stuff taken care of, so I
oh
can
nice.
finally start doing that because If it's manufactured after 1899, you need a permit or else you're going to jail.
You need a permit to own a pistol in New York, like specifically pistols.
Just a permit.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
In California, you just need to have a permit to buy firearms in general, and then you need to be 21 and then pass a background check to buy any pistol you want.
Yeah, I can buy, like, I was able to buy all my rifles just with a background check when I was 18.
Yeah.
18 or older, but with pistols, it's a whole different story. And I know it is completely because of New York City. It has nothing to do with us. Just the fact that we're still connected to New York City in that sense is what fucks us over so badly.
Yep. I don't like to divulge into politics on this channel.
Yeah, I understand.
But I'm going to tie this into history, so I'm going to justify it that way. The reason why we have a system that a lot of people think doesn't represent people properly and rather looks like it represents land in terms of some states that have less population holding more power, like with the 2 senators per state, and then the House of Representatives being based on population, and then with the Electoral College the way it is, that's so that certain states aren't screwed over by states with higher populations. Because there's some states with less people that are living different lives and have different needs than the people in the bigger states. And it's important that, because like America's huge. It covers almost the entire, it's bigger than almost the continent of Europe.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at people in different states coming from different backgrounds. Too many people assume that if you're in America, you're an American, and that's that. There's no difference. But that's the problem with America, is that we don't look at someone from Montana differently than someone from Texas.
Exactly.
So they're 2 completely different people from different backgrounds. They're from different states. They've been raised in different communities.
Might as well be different countries at this point.
So for the cities in Texas to decide what happens in all of Montana is bad, and that's why we have the system. Yeah. And so to your point, New York is controlled by New York City, and California is controlled by LA and San Francisco. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Back when I lived in a different county, the entire county would vote one way, but one city in the county would vote the other way. And guess which way? The county would always vote in every election or for any policy. The way the city voted, even though the rest of the county wanted it one way.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a college city, and there's a lot of people from out of the county, which is what is even worse. So policies about farming and taxes on the farmers and the roads. People who don't even live in the county get to decide that for that county. It's BS. So, yeah, that's as much as I'll go into politics on this channel.
Yeah.
I don't like doing it because it gets too divided and people get too angry about it. And then it's like, oh, no, how dare I express my opinion on things?
Yeah. You don't want to do that on here.
But, yeah, we've reached around the hour limit. I don't really like making these too extremely long. But it's been awesome having you on.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
It's super fun just talking about Militaria collecting and
honestly,
all that stuff. Slip and slide, slippery slope into the hobby. The disease of the wallet.
Yeah, the disease of
It's like the hierarchy of needs. You have, your needs to like not die, and then you have military collecting.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever.
Jeez. You must collect more militaria before you can go up the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts to close out?
I really want to give Air 98. All right. Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is very fun. We should definitely do this again. I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
The cycle will complete, and we can do something again like this. Maybe do a collab with a video at some point.
Yeah. Do you think it would be possible on YouTube to do a thing like with more than 2 people? Like we could get like maybe like Thomas or Owen in here or something like that. Yeah.
I might set it up to where I don't actually have the camera set up and instead have something where it's an image with some small animation to keep people from getting too bored, and do something like a weekly podcast thing with a couple people and then a guest that cycles and something along those lines. That would be easier to use this for. Yeah. But, it's definitely things are coming together with my channel. I'm starting to get more polished. I'm starting to get more.
Honestly, you're really making a name for yourself. That article definitely did wonders, and
it helped substantially with channel growth. Just from that article alone, I gained something like 1,000 subscribers. So I mean, it's really set me up for success, and I couldn't be more grateful for the dude
Yeah.
deciding to write a spotlight on a series I'm making. So it's been fun. It's been fun so far, and the community's been great. So yeah, I'm super excited, and hopefully we can do something like a podcast at some point.
That'd be a lot of fun, honestly.
A channel-based podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's been fun. Does anybody have any sort of closing questions that they want to ask before we end up?
Is there even a chat?
Yeah, there's a chat. It's on the YouTube thing that I have to see. This thing's just a little bit broken. It's going to take a bit for the people to hear what we just said because there's a delay. So I'm just going to let it play a little bit before we answer. But yeah, it's been pretty fun. There's I'm planning to go to an event this upcoming Saturday. That's about an hour away. They've got tanks and stuff.
They got tanks. That sounds like.
I'm gonna try to record it with my camcorder and get some pretty cool footage and put a collab video up and post it probably the following week, which should be pretty cool. It should be a pretty cool video. Unfortunately, a little update. I don't know if you've been keeping up on the Lighting the Powder Keg series, but this upcoming episode is going to be huge. It's going to be like 45 minutes plus.
Really?
So it might get delayed. So this week I might have to make a filler video while I get caught up with this upcoming episode because it's going to be a couple days of editing. We're already delayed with the writing, and it's a mess. But yeah, well, thank you for coming on. I'm glad I could finally have you as a guest. And
yeah, thanks, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was fun. I always love doing these live streams. It's always a fun time. Hope to have you again. And thank you, everyone, for watching. I will post a link to your Instagram in the description and a link to your YouTube channel in the description as well.
May make videos one day again. Who knows? We'll find out.
do video reviews on Militaria. That'd be pretty cool for you to.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So, yeah, you got one hell of a collection, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's getting somewhere. Yeah. All right, thanks for having me.
I've got to go hand it on this other computer because this doesn't work well.
All right.
I'll be the fan. Well, choose.
All right.